Hello everyone and welcome to the 5th Autumn 2024 update from GavsWeatherVids. So here we go again, trying to bring you yet more autumn data. We're up to update number 5 with our autumn updates. We're pretty much halfway through with the updates. Things will be a slightly shorter season of autumn updates this year due to that, but well, I was in hospital for the first couple of weeks of June, wasn't I? So wasn't able to do any autumn updates. Though that means we'll have a slightly shortened season, but nevertheless, you know, it's a decent, 10 or so updates by the time we get to the end. And we're up to update number 5. I should get over that for you in a moment. Just to say, that first video release today was our 6 a.m. UK weather forecast, and we're going to be live at 6 p.m. Actually, we're going to be live shooting. Take the 14 day. We'll add some long range into the mix with that as well. So it's a live stream. Got to do that, haven't we? So I should see you live at 6 p.m. But please like, share, and subscribe on all of today's videos and content. Thank you so much, everyone, for doing that. Thank you so much, Richard, for our amazing autumn updates gift. I love it, 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 love it. Thank you. I love it. Love it. Thank you so much, Rich, for the autumn updates gift. So vibrant. Wonderful, my friend. And thank you so much to Shryan as well, Shryan Bruin, for sorting out the relevant years sports. Actually, this is a bit of a Shryan special because I didn't really know what we was going to be doing this week. So Shryan sorted out the concept and the years for us. So thank you so much to Shryan for doing that. Hashtag Team Gav, always working away for us. Right, well, this is going to be a bit of a CT special, but we're not looking at July CT yet. It's too early for that, but we're going to look at June to July CT, or basically the first half of summer. Though we're having a rather different summer this year. I think we can all agree on that. June central temperature came out at 14.0, which was, well, actually, it says 0.0, but it should, I think that should be 0.1 degree below average. I'm not sure what's gone on there. And July so far, cooler than average, 15.3, albeit it has ticked up quite a bit in the last 2 or 3 days. So the first half of summer 2024, you know, rather on the cool side, certainly a lot cooler than a lot of summers over recent years, or a lot of first half of summers over recent years. And so we're going to be looking for the first set of data, the first sort of data set, if you like, cooler, average to cool Junes into the first halves of July. So the first one that does that, but is average or, you know, rather cool for June and into the beginning of July, if you like, is 1954. The autumn of 1954, very, very unsettled, low pressure in the North Atlantic, winds coming in like that jet stream, at very unsettled autumn. That one really under the cosh. I think have a very, very wet September in 1954. 1956 is another one that does this, average to cool for June and into July. So this one is a rather drier autumn, though, with higher pressure ridging in from off the Atlantic. So after a deluge summer, and the worst of the summer of 1956 actually to come in August. That's about over, maybe. I don't know. But by the autumn, it actually picks up and does actually turn drier into the autumn of 1956. Then we got 1964. This is a rather drier autumn as well, with some higher pressure over and to the west of the country. Bring wind in from off Atlantic, bit of a nondescript sort of autumn, that one. What is a nondescript year? 1964 is a very forgettable year after all of the excitement, of course, of 1963. Right, okay, so we've got 1969 next. This is the next average to cool June into the beginning of July. Notice July 1969 does pick up later on, though. But this one in the autumn is relatively mild and dry, with high pressure and from the Atlantic, low pressure up to the north. Quite a warmish autumn, really, for a 1960s autumn, and with a lot of dry weather included. They have a big gap through to 1990. So this one really picks up in late July and into August, though. So this is very much a summer two halves, and it is, you know, really classified as a hot summer, to be honest, but it has a cool June and into the beginning of July before there's a very dramatic pickup from July into August. Anyway, we find that the autumn of 1919 has higher pressure out to the west and the northwest, lower pressure to the south and the east, bring the wind in from a northeasterly direction. You're talking about being, it's probably quite a cold autumn. It isn't particularly. So I think it's about average for September and a mix of weather. Then we have quite a mild October though, and a little bit unsettled. And then it does start getting a bit colder when we get into November of 1990, proceeding, of course, the cold winter of 1990, 1991. With regard to autumn 1998, next is a very unsettled autumn. Plenty of low pressure in the Atlantic and across northern Europe. Higher pressures out to our southwest, bring the wind in from the west. So a warm but also quite unsettled September, a very wet October, really Atlantic driven, wet and windy, quite stormy at times in October of 98. And then a few cold snaps coming and going in November, which is a little bit on the drier side as well. And then we've got 2002, that one's showing up next. So this autumn is mild and wet, plenty of low pressure around, does have a bit of a northern blocking signal. Starts off with a very dry and really quite warm September. Then we get another one of those Atlantic driven, wet and windy Octobers. And we also have a very wet November with low pressure kind of anchor just to our south and southwest. Overall, a warm and wet autumn in 2002. 2011 is an exceptionally warm autumn after a coolish summer. Low pressure is out in the Atlantic. High pressure is away to our east, and we drag the wind up from a southerly direction. So that is one of the warmest, if not the warmest autumn on record. Had a lot of them recently, so I kind of forget which is the actual warmest, but I know 2011, if it's not the warmest, it's certainly up there. And then we've got 2013. The autumn of 2013 looks like that. High pressure just out to west, low pressure up to the north. Bit of a nondescript autumn. That one, September, not a lot going on. That average for the CT, and, you know, a mix of weather. October, I think it's relatively dry, and then we go into November and we start to pick up the pattern that's going to take place through the winter of 2013-14, which of course was an exceptionally wet and stormy winter, and we get the first inklings of that really in November 2013. Right, putting all of that together, this is how all Septembers combined are looking, following average to cool Junes and into Julys. And, well, a little bit unsettled, actually, below average heights to the north and also out in the Atlantic. You could envisage that quite a wettish month would be likely in a lot of these Septembers. Remember, there will be years that deviate. 2002 was a very dry September, for example. But overall, looks a little bit mixed. We do see some higher pressure to the south, though, so probably quite a warm signal for these Septembers a lot of the time. You know, whilst there could be a few drier ones mixed in, probably actually, in reality, quite a few unsettled ones. This is how all Octobers combined are looking. So we strengthen the high pressure to the southwest. You have plenty of low pressure away to the northwest. So that brings up the wind from west-southwesterly direction. You will think that's a drier signal, but of course, I've got some very wet Octobers in there as well. 98, for example, was a very wet October, as was 2002. So a bit of a mix there in those years. Probably, if anything, most strengthens a rather drier outcome. Or it probably, what's the word I'm looking for? You know, it probably, a drier outcome is probably more likely. All right? What's the word that I'm looking for? Favours. It probably favours. Sorry. What's he do? No, it probably favours. That's the word, isn't it? I don't even remember what I was saying now. What was I saying? Oh yeah, probably favours rather drier outcome overall. Right, the video's falling apart. Let's carry on. All Novembers combined following average or rather cool into first half. sorry. So sorry, everyone. Looks like that with some higher pressure just out to the west, actually. And a trough is over northeast Europe and western Russia. So a cold signal there for northeastern Europe. Hello to all of you watching from Finland, in the Baltic Sea states, to the northwest of Russia. That could be like really quite a cold trough of low there. For us, we're on the periphery, and perhaps quite a cold signal for much of Europe, actually, with like a northerly plunge. For us, we're on the periphery of that, so probably relatively mild, but it is quite a wink signal. A few cold snaps could be possible. And then all autumns combined, following average to cool June to the beginning of July, looks like that, with low pressure up to the north and some higher pressure, just down to the southwest. Remember, everyone's a little bit different though, so a lot of instrument variation is going on. Right, okay, that's the first set done and dusted. Now let's go back here, and now we can see that we have had, or we are having, rather cool sort of first half, so a rather cool June, possibly July as well. We'll know at month's end. So what about if we just put June and July together and, you know, look at standard cool Junes and Julys. Note with this, we are leaving out 1972, which was a very cold June, and 1991, which is also very cold June. The CTs for those are too low. 1995 is also not included in either data set, despite having a coolish June. Reason being, July became very hot very quickly. So those 3 years, if you wonder where they are, 72. And also 1995 and also 1991. If you're wondering where they are, that's the reason that they are not included. But let's just look at standard cool Junes and Julys, something that we haven't been able to look at really very often over recent years. So again, we start off with 1954. We saw it in the first set. See it in this set as well. There will be a bit of overlap in this set, but not as much as you might think, actually. So quite a few of those first years did actually pick up, like 2013, for example, did actually pick up through the Julys and ended up turning, well, in the case of 2013, ended up turning into a hot July, didn't it, with 18 Celsius CT. So there's a bit of overlap, but there will be years also with this that we haven't seen in the first set. So we start off 1954, already explained that. The autumn is very unsettled, wet and windy autumn, following that cool June and July combo. Then we go to 1956, that's back again as well. This is a dry autumn after a very unsettled, cool and wet summer. 1958 is showing up next with a cool June July combination. This one actually quite Scandinavian high dominated autumn, so relatively dry, but I think it does have a cool and wet September. We've got 1962 showing up next. That follows a cool June and July combination also. The autumn is generally quite dry and pretty chilly as well. A lot of the time, quite a cold autumn, of course. Setting up a teddy. Setting up a teddy. More about that when we get into the winter updates, maybe. Right, we've got 1978 showing up next. This is a warm and dry autumn. Lots of low pressure up to the north, but high pressure is down to the south, and we bring the wind up from southwesterly direction. So that's a very dry, as I say, but also, well, it's exceptionally dry, and also quite warm autumn. It all flips around the last week to 10 days, last week of November 1978, when it suddenly turns much, much colder, setting up a winter pattern. But you get no inkling at all in this example of the cold winter that's to come for 78, 79 following autumn 78. Then got 1980 as our next cool June and July combo, and the autumn of 1980 quite unsettled, low pressure, you know, just around the North Atlantic really. I think that's an early, very cold spell in early November. Bonfire night 1980, I think, certainly has significant frost, possibly some snow around as well. So quite a strange autumn. It does have quite a dry and warm September, I think. Then we go through to 1981. This is a mild and wet autumn. High pressure down towards Spain and Portugal. Low pressure is to the north. Has quite a wet September, and then quite a cool and wet October, and then a mild and unsettled and wet November with unusual amounts of tornadic activity. Got 1998, that's back again as well, following cool June and July combination. So we explained that in the first data set. Lots of low pressure all over the place, most notable for having a very wet October. They have 2002, that one also coming back with lots of low pressure in the North Atlantic. Higher pressure is away to the north. A dry September and then wet for October and November. And, very wet at times. We've got 2011, that one also back, dragging up those very warm southerly winds with low pressure out to the west, high pressure to the east. And then finally, we've got 2012, which is also very wet autumn and colder as well, or cooler anyway. There's low pressure in the northwest of Europe, higher pressure in the Atlantic, winds coming in from the northeast. Has a cool and quite wet September, which was a bit of a turn up for the books at the time, as it followed a run of really quite hot Septembers a lot of the time through the early 2000s. And also October and November 2012 are also quite wet as well, and there are some cold snaps, especially later on in the autumn. Right, let's pull all of that together then. So this is how all September's combined are looking, following cool June and July combinations, with lots of low pressure in the Atlantic into Western Europe, a cool and wet potentially signal for a lot of those Septembers. All Octobers combined. Again, interesting how both data sets kind of raise the heights a little bit to our west. Low pressure is away to the north. That's a slightly more unsettled signal though for those Octobers. And then November really flips things around. I was quite surprised about that, but high pressure sort of favoured to take over in November, building through the North Atlantic into West Europe. That's a cold ridge as well, I think. That hasn't built up from the south. That's a cold ridge that's built down from the north. So not only, potentially quite a cold signal for a lot of those Novembers, not only a potentially dry signal with a lot of those Novembers, but potentially a colder signal as well, maybe, with an increase in risk of, frost and fog, gruesome twosome. And then finally, putting all of it together, this is how all autumns combined are looking, following cool June and July combos, with low pressure to the north and higher pressure down to the southwest. Remember, every month is individual, but it looks like there is a trend as the autumn goes along towards higher pressure. So the most unsettled signal, naturally, perhaps surprisingly, for the Septembers, with the driest signal being for the Novembers and the Octobers somewhere in between. And there we go. That's our 5th Autumn 2024 update. A few different years in the mix there. I think you'll agree, due to the fact that we haven't for quite some time been able to look at cooler data for summer. So we'll see whether this carries on through the remainder of the summer, or whether we go back to looking at hotter years, when we get through particularly August data sets. Anyway, I've rambled on long enough. That is your 5th Autumn 2024 update. Thank you so to Richard and also to Shrine for all of the help on this video. Thanks so much to Rich for the gift, to Shrine sorting out concept and years, and we'll end it there. So the autumn forecast, of course, was each of these individual updates building up to the autumn forecast. The autumn forecast from GavsWeatherVids, but Teeth and Gav, will be released on Sunday the 25th of August. So we're cracking on now with our autumn updates, and Sunday 25th of August will be the day that Gav reveals all for the autumn forecast. We're going to be back a little bit later on with our live stream, so I'll be live at 6 p.m. with today's 10 to 14 day update. As it's Sunday live stream, we'll include some long range in that as well. If you've got any questions about this autumn update, then fire away on the stream and I'll do my best to answer those. I'll see you a little bit later on for that one, but for this one, that's all for now, and thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.